When the Native American reached a certain age, and in each tribe the age was different, the Native American young man would go on a spirit journey. He would take only his knife and the clothes on his back, and he would head out into the wilderness. And there he would meditate and fast for many days until he had the opportunity to see his spirit animal. And once he had been able to find his spirit animal, he would return to his tribe a man. It is said that when a Native American went on this journey, in his meditative state, animals would walk right up to him, including predators. And he would see no harm and would not find any danger because he was becoming one with his surroundings and his environment. So, at this time, we're going to start our interfaith worship ceremony by everyone closing your eyes and listening. You will find that the quieter you become, the more you will hear. Listen for the birds, the chipmunks, the squirrels, even the humans that are not joining us here. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got the Tiger Scouts in his hands. He's got the Tiger Scouts in his hands. He's got the Tiger Scouts in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the wolves and the bears In his hands he's got the wolves and the bears. In his hands he's got the wolves and the bears. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the wee billows. In his hands he's got the wee billows. In his hands he's got the wee billows. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the Boy Scouts. In his hands 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 he's got all those parents. In his hands he's got all those parents. In his hands he's got all those parents. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the volunteers. In his hands he's got the volunteers. In his hands he's got the volunteers. In his hands he's got the whole world in his hands. All right, that was great. When we come together for an interfaith worship ceremony, in the United States and in Great Britain, the original term was the Scouts' Own. It was called the Scouts' Own because it was of each and owns one faith, be it Christian or Muslim, be it Hindu or Buddhist. It did not matter. Be it Jewish or Wiccan, it did not matter. So long as we believe in that higher power, we could come together as a community. How many of you here are from Orange County? You're from Orange County? You went to Orange County.
Been there before.
How many of you are from the city of Downey? Southgate. Help me out here. Whittier. Covina.
El Monte.
Rancho Cucamonga.
Rancho Cucamonga. What is the name of your city?
San Gabriel.
That's your country. What city? Mala. Malau. Malan. I'll get it right, I promise. We come from many cities around the world. And yet, we are all here as one group. For the next couple of minutes, I want you all to greet each other. Tell each other your names. And tell them what your unit number is. And what city you come from. Go. Go introduce yourself.
Jamie, 655, Rancho
I was born in Torrance. I have lived all over Southern California, and I have lived in California all my life.
Nice to meet you.
Wow.
And I was living in also another island in
Borneo.
and I spent my other life in Australia.
In Australia?
Yes.
Oh my
I know,
goodness.
right?
Wow, world traveler.
I can meet anyone.
That's awesome. That's great.
But even now,
Were you a scout?
I was a scout.
That's awesome.
I come from an area.
Wow.
Rick. Hey, come on. Come on, dude.
the whole 2 days?
Yes. Taking this back to the front.
2 minutes. 2 more minutes.
Enjoy the dance. You guys are great.
And my husband, over there, with the Yellowstone, the truck cap. The truck cap.
Jaman and Rohu.
Afi, Jaman, and Rohu. Very good. And what city are they from?
Jaman is from Delos, Manda Street, by Josephine. And then, yeah, the other one's all the same.
Okay. Who did you meet?
I met Ricky.
Ricky. And where's Ricky from?
Whittier.
Ricky is from Whittier. And where are you from?
Whittier.
You're both from Whittier. What a coincidence. Very interesting. Who did you meet? Got to hear it. Everybody has to hear, so you got to say really loud.
Forgot
You
their
didn't remember
names.
the names.
Oh,
It's okay.
a lot of
If we
cool
just
people.
met, sometimes it takes time to learn people's names.
Yeah. Out of the
The
dirt,
important
sit
thing
down.
to remember
Sit down.
is that just now, as we've gone around speaking to each other, we live 50-mile radius, 100-mile radius. We come from Whittier, from Southgate, from Montebello. We come from Mala. Maja? Sumaja. My mouth doesn't work very well in that area. But we come together as a community because as scouts, we are a brotherhood. When Baden-Powell first started scouting, that was not his intention. When Baden-Powell first started scouting, he was a cavalry soldier in Her Majesty's cavalry. And he watched his soldiers die needlessly after battle. They would win a battle, and then they would get hurt after the battle. Or they would get lost. Or they would get sick from simple illnesses and die. And so Baden-Powell decided to write a book to teach his soldiers how not to die. Because they would die from they would get a cut and not clean it and not put a dressing on it. And it would get infected and they would get sick and they would die. He believed that this book would save his soldiers. And after a very long war, an occupation of 6 months where he was protecting a group, he came back to England, and on the docks waiting for him were hundreds of boys, all holding his book, because they were playing a game called scouting. And they wanted his autograph because he was now a war hero. And all of a sudden, Baden-Powell looked up and he said, "Oh my goodness, if I can get the boys now and teach them how to be good woodsmen, then when they become soldiers, they'll already know and they'll be able to protect themselves when they're out fighting." And so he took a group to Brownsea Island from all walks of life. Some of them were shopkeepers. Others were orphans. Still others came from rich homes. And he taught them his woodland skills. And with the help of many of his military friends, they trained these young men to be able to protect themselves in the wilderness. And at night they would sit around the campfire, and he would tell his stories. And he thought he had found the perfect answer. But then something happened. Something horrible. World War I. And Baden-Powell stood by as thousands of his men died. All of these boys that he had taught to help themselves and to keep themselves well weren't even getting the chance to get to that point because they were dying before they even got the point of actually occupying an area. And he realized he had to change his mission. And it was then that Lord Baden-Powell stepped forward and said, this will no longer be just a way to make new soldiers. This will be my legacy. I will teach these skills to youth throughout the world. I will pass along these things that we call scouting, leadership, character, honor, respect. But I will teach it peacefully and with love and compassion. He knew that scouting had to become a peace movement because he believed that if we could come and speak to the children and learn to have the children speak to each other, and if they as children became brothers, when it came time for them to be our leaders, they would already have a brotherhood. And there would be no reason for war. There would be no need for it. Because we would respect each other. We would understand each other's cultural differences. And be okay with how someone else lived. This Scouts Own is a perfect example of what Baden-Powell set out to do. To bring people from other cultures together. And yes, we do have our Indonesian friends here. But how many of you are Hispanic?
I'm British.
Irish?
I'm German, Russian.
German? How many of you are Filipino?
Russian.
How many of you are Japanese? Korean?
I know how to
Native American.
How many of you are Native American? So you see, it's not just about the cultures that we have that separate us by continents, but it is also about the cultures that we have in our own backyards, our neighbors, who they are, and how we come together as a community to form friendships that will last a lifetime. All because one man believed that world peace was possible. To date, 140 countries have scouting. We are the only youth organization that has its own offices at the United Nations. We are the largest and longest lasting peace movement the world has ever seen. And we don't do it with parades. And we don't do it with big banners. We do it quietly in campsites. We do it in town meeting halls. We do it when a scoutmaster sits with a boy and counsels them on what that advancement truly means and the character that creates. That's what scouting is. Baden-Powell believed that scouting was a game with a purpose. These young scouts love to play. They have enough classroom time. Here we teach them respect for the wilderness while they're whittling a stick. And ultimately, that respect for the wilderness leads to how they respect their homes and their communities, and how they come together to work towards a common goal, which is why service is so important to the scouting community. So I invite you all, take some time before you leave our group here. Get an email address. Get a telephone number. Get a mailing address. I know that's old-fashioned. And correspond. Even if you're in Whittier and you talk to somebody from Monrovia, because your towns are different. Your experiences are different. And by developing that brotherhood, we can truly reach one more step to the world peace that Baden-Powell believed scouting could become. We're going to have a closing song. And then, Ranger Dale, are you ready to be able to hang that necker?
Would you be able to tell the boys the story of the two crosses?
Absolutely.
I think that would really be moving.
Okay, give us about 5 minutes and we'll be ready to do that.
Copy that. Ranger 1, Spider-Man alert. I need a ladder up here, please.
So, our photographer friend here wanted me to be able to tell you why we have two big crosses on the top of our boot hill. First, let me tell you that this boot hill is what we call our hill of service. For a scout unit to receive the honor of putting a tombstone on this hill, they must give the camp as a unit 30 hours of service in a year. It might be cleaning up campsites. It might be working on trails. It might be painting buildings. Because truly, who does this camp belong to? Does it belong to me?
No.
Does it belong to the parents?
No.
Who does it belong to?
Us.
You. And you. And you. We're only holding on to it for you for now. And we will expect you to pass it to your children. It is your camp. We just make sure it doesn't burn down. You own it. We are your servants, so that you can learn to be the great leaders we know you can be. But the crosses that you see at the top, represent two great leaders who fell at this camp. They died here. They died in the service to others. One of them died in his sleep after working an entire weekend for 5 Tamparees. The other was out backpacking with his scout unit on an inaugural scout backpacking trip that my friend Roberta over here created. And he forgot his medications and he died of a heart attack on the trail. How many of you enjoyed breakfast up there? The person who made sure that your food was cooked is the wife of the man whose red and white cross is at the top of that hill. Pat, yes, Patty, yes. Her husband, Marion. Here at our camp, we have red-tailed hawks. And every time we have a large gathering of scouts, those hawks show up. I was present for both of these men who fell. When Dinky Dog, that was his camp name, his name was David, passed, Marion had already been gone for a year. And as I stood out in front of our campmaster building, a solitary hawk was circling above the Green Island campsite. As that hawk circled, out of nowhere, another hawk joined. And the two flew for several more circles before finally taking off together. It was then that I knew, and those around me, that Marion had come to get Dinky Dog and take him home. Since that day, at every Rocket Academy, at every Boot Fest, and every weekend that this camp is going crazy with kids, those two hawks show up. Even to a point where at that very tree, at that very branch, as I spoke to my former boss about needing things for the Boy Scouts to buy equipment, and he was arguing with me about buying the equipment, the two hawks landed on the branch and stood above us. And he finally said, okay, Dinky Dog and Marion said you had to have it. Okay, I'll let you do it. That's how important these men were to us. Their service is their legacy. So, thank you for coming today. We will sing our closing song. We'll try to sing it twice so that you can hear the melody and then you can join in. It's a fairly easy song. And then we will take an opportunity to add another neckerchief to the Broken Hawk Trading Post from our friends from Indonesia. And we invite you all to join us in that celebration as Ranger Dale raises another necker. Roberta, do you want to join us here for our last song? For those of you who know it, it is Let There Be Peace on Earth. It's a very, if you don't, Let There Be Peace on Earth. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let me take it down an octave, and we'll try that again. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Woo!
At this time, can we have our Scoutmaster come forward? And into the broken hawk as orderly as possible, we will all come together. And Ranger Dale will hang another necklace in the trading post. Come and join us. Let's squeeze as many in as we can.
Can we in the west and in the east? West and east?
Let's open that door so everybody can get in.
West and east?
Is that for you?
Okay, thank you very much. This is third of our symbol. This is our symbol nation that's called Garuda. It's the same in your country, same with the eagle. And this one is the symbol of the Girl Scout. They are the champion. And this is for the Boy Scout. And there is a national color,
I got it.
red and white, and we call that merah putih. So this is our complete, and also this merah putih also. So we always use in our neck. So it's our honor, and now we give to this Firestone so that will be memory us that we have joy with the people in here. Thank you very much.
And so,
Can I? May I?
Yeah. I'm going to show move that one over.
Okay.
in here you will see that there are orienteering flags in each corner of the store. Each of these orienteering flags come from the 1930s. They are these orange and white flags, and they were used for orienteering courses back in the 30s. These four flags represent north, south, east, and west. And so we will place this on our east side to represent them coming from the east. Both of you together. There you go. We have many gifts for you as well.
Thank you.
Every year, Firestone celebrates a different animal that lives here at Firestone. This year we celebrate the year of the bobcat. The bobcat is a small mountain lion, type cat, not much bigger than a cat that you would have at home. We say that they are small in package, but fierce in spirit. So this is the patch for our camp for this year. Put it right down the middle. Sorry. But we don't forget our leaders. Scoutmaster to Scoutmaster.
Thank you very much. I like to say that I'm so glad for this.
Absolutely.
He's the man. He's the man.
Thank you. We typically will wear this patch on our right side for activity, and our rank is on the left because the rank is over our hearts. And this is the current thing we might be doing. So this is one patch, and now Roberta is going to. We're going to do. We have a shirt for you. Roberta, you got this light too.
Oh no, he's doing the boy.
Oh, you're doing the boy.
Thank
Okay,
you
come
for
on.
coming.
I had a plan on doing that.
Thank you for coming.
In the United States,
Thank you for coming.
all leaders are volunteers. It's in here somewhere. Payday. All about the patches. We say it's all about the patches because this is our pay to remember the impact we had this day for these scouts. And each patch represents another group of youth that we have affected and we have changed their lives. So now Dale will do the young men.
The fellas. Thank you guys.
Good, how are you? Oh yeah, we always have fun. We're exhausted at the end, but we always have fun.
It's a chance for us to become a kid as well.
Any excuse to shoot a BB gun.
Thank you.
What is that? Pramuka?
Itu keren.
Pramuka itu keren.